Yo, how you doing, man?
What's going on, buddy? Sorry, I was in there busy for a sec. Let me see.
No worries, no
Yes.
worries, bro. All good.
How do I get start video? There we go. All right.
Perfect, my
All
man.
right. To be honest, I'm just throwing this together as far as a backdrop here. So
All
might not be
good.
the best looking backdrop ever, but all good, man. We'll get it
Nah,
on.
dude, your presence is backdrop enough, man. Fucking
Thanks.
congrats on that win, dude. You put on for us. You did excellent.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Of course, fucking meeting you at the hotel in Toronto there was pretty
Yeah,
funny.
you were the guy with the Winnipeg jersey on, right?
I was, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so
And it's funny, I just walked right in and was like, I know I'll find someone to chat with real
mhm.
quick at least, and then shortly got escorted out. But
You're fucking playing defense for us, man. Love it. They were on point this weekend, man. They were like, dude, some fans came in the hotel on was it fight day? I think it was fight day. I think I did my shakeout. Some fans asked for a picture, and I was like, yeah, sure. And the guys, the security's like, no, you guys got to get out of here. No, it's not happening. Yeah. Which on fight day, I'm like, dude, I don't want to be taking a lot of pictures. I want to stay in the zone.
True,
But the
true,
rest of
yeah.
them were down for it.
It's war mode, yeah, absolutely, man. And yeah, even after that, before obviously, we all know the entire fight was dominance up until the end against one of the best, Neil Magny, and then you get to come back, and it was pretty sweet too. Like your past three have been in Canada as well, at least.
Yeah, man. Dude, I hope the rest of them are, man. I love fighting in Canada. Sorry, I'm just getting that adjusted. Yeah, I hope the rest of them are, man. I love fighting in Canada. Like I'll fight it. I'll fight wherever they tell me to fight, but man, it's like it's so much better fighting in Canada. I love it here.
Yeah, fuck, we love seeing it too, man. And they're doing it right by putting it here, man. It's the best way to build it up too. And chatting with Bobby, obviously, know you were
Yeah.
working with him in your last camp. How was that? He said he had a great time. You beat the shit out of him and got some
Well,
good.
yeah, I mean, it was, he's out there for fight week with me. So it's like basically just like, hey, don't touch me or injure me. And then
Mhm.
I'm going to try and pick at you. And then, a couple shots might sneak through a little bit harder than I meant to because I'm in fight week and just a little bit intense. So, I didn't like beat his ass or anything. It was more just like him letting me work. And I'm like, I hope I didn't crack you or anything like that. I'm a pretty good training partner. I'm not the kind of guy who goes out there and like hurts
No, it
teams.
was all in good. It was all in goodwill, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. And he's obviously fighting coming up too, so he needs
Yeah.
that as well. And it's an exciting time for the sport, man. It's growing. I've been looking forward to doing this with you for a minute, so I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I'm pumped to be here, man. Yeah, he's a great guy, man. He's been helping me get ready for the last several fights and he's just like a super athletic and strong and like in shape, welterweight and sharp, good everywhere. He's like a great just training partner to have to mimic like most guys.
Krua Lin was in Winnipeg a few like 2 weeks ago, actually, here with the Manitoba Combat Sports Commission. But that House of Champions, man, you guys have a lot going on there. It's good.
Dude, yeah, he's been doing this forever, man. I walked into his gym when I was 17. I walked in 15 years ago to his gym and I found out about the gym because I went to some fights on the reservation before it was legal in Ontario. My buddy from high school, his parents helped put on the fights in some way or another on the res. And so he's like, "Hey man, I know you're into this UFC thing. Like I got tickets if you want to come." It's like, "Oh hell yeah, dude! Like
Fuck yeah.
live fights, that would be unreal." As in some like hockey arena type thing, and it was like the happiest night of my life as a kid. I'm like, "This is amazing!" And then one team was just absolutely wrecking guys in MMA and Muay Thai because they had some Muay Thai fights in the cage. Like Shane Campbell fought there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all House of Champions guys at the time. The gym was Iron Tiger Muay Thai, but it's House of Champions now. And so I took note of that. I'm like, man, these guys are destroying everybody. And then I just ended up in the summers between when I was 17, the summer between I think university and high school and university. I was working at my dad works at a construction company in Hamilton, and he got me a job there just as like a kind of gopher type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And and I googled like, okay, what MMA gyms are in the area? Like, I want to get some extra training, and I was just training at like a small regional or small local gym at the time. I'd just gotten my license. So before that was like, I could only train where I could walk. So
Yeah,
like
of
there was like
course.
a kickboxing and taekwondo gym in town. So I trained there, and that was cool for high school. We did a little bit of jiu-jitsu and stuff, but then I was like, okay, is there somewhere in Hamilton near this place I can train? And I like looked it up, and that gym, House of Champions, Iron Tiger, ended up being right down the street. And it just was like perfect, man. I walked in there day one, and I was hitting mitts and stuff. And he's like, Crew Lynn's like, why are you here? And I was like, I want to be a fighter. He's like, okay, you want to be a fighter? Like, okay, cool.
Okay.
And I trained hard that day. And then the next day I came in. He's like, all right, get in the ring and spar with this guy. And it was like I was 17. It was like a grown man professional Muay Thai fighter, and he just like chopped the living hell out of my legs. And I had done like waist up kickboxing before, so I was like trying to take his head off with like Superman punches and like all this stuff, but I didn't know how to deal with low kicks.
Yeah.
He chopped my leg completely out, and I was on light duty for the rest of the week at work. I was like, I didn't know what to do at all, and I just like
Wow.
came in a couple days later once I could walk again. He's like, all right, jump in with Shane Campbell for sparring. He's like world Muay Thai champion, right? Shane ended up
Wow.
fighting in the UFC and the K1 Max. He's like one of the best strikers to ever come out of Canada. And he was nice to my skull, but he beat the living hell out of my body. Like he stung me to the head, but I kind of shelled up and he dropped me to the body bad.
Yeah, they don't want to really fuck you up, but they'll fuck you up
They'll
100%.
fuck you up,
Yeah.
right? Like he didn't
Yeah.
put me in the hospital, but he put me down hard.
Oh, fuck.
And then, a week later, I was back in training and Shane was in again. He's like, jump in with Shane again. It's pretty much the same thing happened. I was trying my best and he just dropped me so bad to the body. And then I came in like again, another couple of days, a day later or whatever. And he's like, you're back again, eh? I was like, I told you I want to be a fighter. He's like, okay. And then that's when he's like, all right, this kid's really actually wants it. And he's like, got heart. He'll take an ass kicking and keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back. He's like, all right, I like this kid. And he later told me, he's like, yeah, man, I wanted to vet you. He's like, you said you wanted to be a fighter. So I wanted to see if you actually had it. He's like, I didn't want to waste my time. Like, if you're going to be a coward about this, I'm not putting time into somebody you know,
How
who's
old
going to
were you
waste
at the
my
time?
time. I was 17.
17. Yeah, and obviously the main thing is you coming back, right? Putting you through that fire and then seeing if you're gonna come back.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't expect you to do well. He's like, you were going to get your ass kicked. He's like, it
Yeah.
was, you were fresh meat for my guys, just kind of build their confidence and whoop on somebody. But also, you were scrapping.
Was
And
Dennis Pierce there at the time when you
oh
started?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Dennis Pierce was there.
Yeah.
Um, Shane Campbell, Dave Hale, Jeff Sharkey, Will Romero. Showtime was there still. Mukai Marmo was still there. He hadn't moved out west yet. So, dude, it was just
Stacked.
killer after
Stacked.
killer after
Yeah.
killer. So, like Muay Thai was the best gym in Canada, hands down. And then, they had some grappling and wrestling, but the guys were like starting to get into MMA at the time, and it was, they were killing it in MMA too. So it was just like, yeah, an absolute killer's gym. And yeah, I learned a ton that summer. And then every time I've been back in Ontario, I went to school in Halifax. I went to Dalhousie. So whenever I was home at like Christmas or in the summers, I'd train with crew. And then after I was done university, I moved to California. And whenever I was home, I'd train with crew. And then just the training up here got better and better. And the training partners got bigger. I got bigger. There were more guys to train with. And the level really jumped up around here. Big thanks, obviously, to Niagara Top Team, kind of bringing everybody together and, you know, pooling resources. So that really helped the area.
When did
Um,
you how old were you when you started at Niagara?
After I got to the UFC.
Okay.
So I had like I trained with them when I'd come home. Like Prickett was and is one of my best friends. I met him training with Jason Sago
Hmm.
out in PEI. So I was living in Halifax, and then I was fighting. I was supposed to fight Michael Karkula, who was like an undefeated, like 6-0 prospect at lightweight. I was supposed to fight him, and Sago was supposed to fight Alex Ricci, and I didn't know Alex at the time. But I was like, okay, cool, man. Like, do you want to like message Sago? I was like, all right, you're fighting a kickboxer. I'm fighting a grappler. You're a grappler. I'm more of a kickboxer. Like, let's work together. Like, let's get each other ready. And I ended up just staying at his house for a week. And I met Prickett out there. They were boys, and Prickett would corner him. And while I was out there, kind of on the last day, he had like a little bit of a get together at his house. And he's like, okay, guys, so we've got some bad news and some good news. Bad news is my fight with Alex Ricci is off. And everyone's like, oh, no, that's what we're here celebrating. He's like, good news is it's off because I just got signed to the UFC. I'm making my debut in 4 weeks or whatever. And we're like, oh, let's go, man. So it was sick energy. I obviously didn't end up fighting Karkula. He pulled out, and then I fought I fought Alan Wilson instead, who's since passed away. So obviously
Mm,
rest in peace to him. But I ended up winning that fight, and then I trained with Sago again the next camp when I was getting ready for Hakeem Dawodu, and he was getting ready for Paul Felder. And we
okay.
both ended up losing those fights. But yeah, trained with Sago out there a little bit, and that's where I met Prickett. We just like hit it off right away. I was like, oh, this guy's a beauty. And it was like the first wrestler I'd ever met who was like tall and lanky. Like I was
Nice.
six foot one at 145 at the time, right? So I was just like an absolute strength. Like I was all tendon and bone at that point, right? Like I was all skinny. Um, so I was like, oh, I've never met a guy who can like really wrestle who's tall and skinny. I've only ever met like short wrestlers. So it was cool to meet him and kind of learn what it's like to wrestle as a lanky dude.
Yeah, fuck, man. No, it's continuing to grow, and like obviously everyone did excellent in the past card there. And hats off to Jasmine, she did excellent too, and
Mhm.
she's got I love her demeanor. I just fucking love her demeanor. She's hilarious, dude,
She's
and a
sick, dude.
killer.
Yeah, man. She's a grinder, man. She's a workhorse. Like I met her through Prickett when they started dating, and Jazz had never trained before. Like
Mhm.
I had already fought in Bellator. I was already living in the States training at Team Alpha Male. And they met and on like their second or third date, we like all hung out. It's just like a small group of us. And and she was like, oh, that's cool that you do that MMA stuff. Like I'd love to try that. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Like, okay,
Yeah,
whatever. And then
yeah.
she's like, let's grapple. I'm like, you want to
No
grapple in his
shit.
living room
No
floor? She's
shit.
like, yeah, let's go. Let me try it. And so we grappled like on his carpet in his living room floor. And that was like the first time she'd technically ever trained before.
That's
And then
hilarious.
and I'd already fought in Bellator. I already moved down to Alpha Male. She had never trained before, and she still beat me to the UFC by 3 weeks.
That's bananas, dude. Holy
It was
fuck.
so funny.
Just on a whim like that, eh? Yeah.
Dude, so random.
And of
So random.
course you're
Just
like,
what?
of course you're gonna do it, sure.
Yeah, one of those like she's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're going to the UFC?" Like, "Yeah, I'll do that too." I'm like, you can't just do it. Like you have to dedicate your life to it. She's like, "No, I'm pretty sure I'll figure it out." I'm like,
That's
"How the
so
fuck how did you beat me to it? I've been doing this my whole life. Like this is all I've ever wanted to do." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I'll do that like sooner than you will actually."
oh my God, what a beauty, man. That's fucking
Mm.
gorgeous.
Mm.
So
Yeah, man, that's hilarious.
you did a little bit of a Sportsnet debut there, hey, in April?
Yeah, man, it was super fun. I've done a couple things for them now, but yeah, 300 was unreal, man. 300 was a great time.
Fuck, dude.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
dude, it
It's
was like almost emotional being down there at the presser because they did this like long breakdown of the UFC and all these like videos of all this time, like everything that's happened throughout the last 30 something years and all these champions that were like then the banner dropped or this like big sheet dropped and all the guys were behind it, right? Dude, I almost got like emotional because I just like was this kid who was a huge fan of the sport and just to see like how it went from this like fringe thing that was on Spike TV, between like Mansers and like 1,000 Ways to Die to like now being like one of the biggest sports in the world and like super mainstream and guys are making real money and it's like in actual stadiums, not at like, the biggest card of the year at like the Hard Rock in Vegas. Like it's
Mm.
not illegal in most places anymore. Like when I was growing up, it was illegal, where I lived and in most of Canada. It's like now it's the sports made it, and then I feel like I'm like, man, I've made it. Like this is super cool. It was really fun to be there. But yeah, just working with Sportsnet in general is awesome, man. They're a bunch of good guys.
It's the most like opportunistic sport. Like Dana said it like last year or 2 years ago. And I told him this because like I told him I kind of made this and like formed this after what you said when I met him in Toronto at the Boston Pizza meet and greet there, which was a great thing to be able to do.
Mm.
Even when I only started this last March, so it's um and he said, if you can outwork any of these motherfuckers, do it. There's so much opportunity there, and even it's untouched. And when you bring up a fighter and someone's like, huh? But you can bring up like a football player or a hockey player or something like that, and they'll know right away. You know,
Mm.
um, a basketball player when they're in college, they'll get coverage when they go to McDonald's.
Right.
I want that to be the regular thing for fighters in these promotions like BTC and BFL. You have City
Mm.
who just got signed from Via being a champion in both of those promotions and
Mhm.
tons of talent. Their next show in Niagara Falls coming up. I actually just
Mhm.
got off with another guy that's fighting on the card. He's from Trinidad, Tobago, and his
Oh,
coach is Dwayne Hines. And
so-
it's crazy, man, when the work is so pure, you can't bullshit it. And the sport itself too, like it's not a team sport. It is in a sense, but there's
Mhm.
no one to blame when something goes wrong. It's like this guy didn't
Mhm.
pull through because this didn't happen.
Mhm.
It's me and myself. So it's incredible. And then that work builds fans like us that really appreciate every aspect of it and the unseen work behind it because it's fucking
Mhm.
thousands of hours that people don't see.
Yeah, man. And there's nowhere to hide, man, in this sport.
Mhm.
That's what's so crazy about the sport and like vulnerable is there's nowhere to hide in this sport. You can't like hide behind your teammates. You can't like talk your way out of it. It's like, all right, man, you're pretty much naked in
Yeah.
front of the world, locked in a cage in the center of a stadium. It's just the two of you. There's one guy in there who will like hopefully save the dude who's getting fucked up if worst case scenario happens. But like other than that, there's almost no rules. Have fun. It's like it's dude, it's crazy to think about. That's just like a sport that we do, but it's also super cool because of it. Like you're willing and able to like step into an absolute hurricane. No idea what's going to happen. Like, I don't know if this guy's going to sprint at me and just give it absolutely everything he's got for like the first 4 to 8 minutes before he absolutely gasses. I don't know if he's going to pace himself. I don't know if he's going to hang on to it for the last couple minutes and then really turn it up like Magny did against me. Like, I don't know if this guy's going to
Yeah.
look for a takedown. I don't know if this guy's going it's like there's so much that can happen. And then within the sport itself is like five different sports. It's like, all right, if you want to be the best boxer, how do you train? Okay, you know how to do that. If you want to be the best kickboxer, how do you train? All right, if you want to be the best wrestler, jiu-jitsu, and like endurance and interval athlete, and then tie it all together in MMA. It's like, okay, cool. You know how to do all those individually. Now you have time to do about a fifth of that.
Yeah.
Where do you put your chips? Where do you stack it? Do you do a little bit more striking? Do you do a little bit more strength conditioning? And then like where do you put it all? Because like there are some guys who just like, bro, I'm just gonna do strength conditioning and wrestle and barely do much striking and barely do much jiu-jitsu, but I'm just gonna double leg guys and run at them. Or it's like, all right, I'm just gonna be like a long-term endurance athlete and I'm gonna box like crazy and be good off my back and be really hard to kill. Like, dude, it's so weird. And there's so many different styles that match up. And like there's no matter how long this sport's been going, there's no like, well, what's the right body type or even like what's the right style for MMA? It's like it hasn't with everything else, it's kind of gone to like this is how you should do it. Like
Hmm.
these guys tend to, like there's specialization that stands out for like other sports like basketball. Like, okay, everybody's got to be like tall and lean. You know what I mean? Or like football, depending on the position. You look at a guy's body and you're like, based on your body, you play a certain sport. Like you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
you're not a 170-pound lineman. Like you have to be, 280. And you're not a 300-pound running back. Like you have to be like, whatever it is, like 185 pounds and like able to go.
Yeah.
But MMA, it's like, okay, you can be DC at the heavyweight champ and be like 5'10" or 5'11" and just be built like an absolute fridge and wreck dudes that are like 6'7". Or you could be like this like sick, or you could be like a 6'2" featherweight who's just like jabbing the hell out of guy. Like it doesn't matter. It's like, what's the best attributes to have? It's like just however you use them. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what your attributes are. You can just use them.
Or break all the rules and just be Pereira, and just
Yeah.
fucking be a loaded weapon regardless of whatever anyone does. It's dumb, man. It's dumb.
Yeah, man, it's super cool. We're like, oh man, having a reach advantage must be the best advantage. It's like, yeah, sometimes, or you're Max Holloway and you have a proportionately short reach and you hit guys more than anyone's ever hit somebody in the history of the UFC. Like, or yeah, or it just
Yeah.
you completely change it. It doesn't matter at all. Like it's super cool, man. I love that about the sport.
How about that
It's
Elia, hey? Fucking hell, man. I was in a mall in Montreal. I was covering a kickboxing event, and the next day I couldn't find a place to watch it, so I just sat down in a mall and started watching on my phone. And
Mm.
my God, man, my
Dude,
God.
he's really, really good, man. That's I
Yeah,
don't know who's gonna get him at featherweight.
yeah, that's
A tall
scary.
order for anybody, man.
That's
It's a tall
scary.
order for anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So
knocking out knocking out Volk was extremely impressive, and not
on
less impressive.
AI.
It wasn't less impressive than knocking out Holloway, but it was almost one of those like, okay, he did the right things in that fight and maybe caught him, but it's like, well, then this is Holloway. Holloway's never even been dropped. Like he's
Yeah.
been cracked by everybody. Like you're not knocking him out, and he knocks Holloway. You're like, that one was insane. I hope I don't read much anymore on comments or anything like that, but I hope people aren't dogging Holloway, man. Like that's one of the greatest fighters of all
No,
time.
I saw it
People
so
love
much
it.
support. All I saw was support and just the it happened just because of the power and that was it. Like there was no like, oh, he's washed, none of that. Like just
No.
look what he did after the Volk fight, coming back and doing that to Gaethje, right? Like the sport's
Yeah,
nuts.
people thought he was, starting to get washed up years ago when he was stumbling his words on that news interview with Bisping, and then had
Mhm.
some tough fights with Volk. And it's like, all right, man, his better days might be behind him. Then he goes out there and fights Gaethje the way that he does, and you're like, this guy's incredible, man. Like
Yeah.
that's
Gaethje
Gaethje, dude.
and that fight against when he said he was the best boxer in the UFC. Who was he fighting at that?
Oh, Calvin Cater.
Yeah, that fight was after that too.
Yeah,
He put on that performance, and then yeah, it was
yeah,
madness. It was madness.
yeah, man.
How'd you get involved with like Nelk and Full Send and all them?
Um, Kind of a couple ways. There was someone with the UFC who put me in touch with Kyle.
Nice.
I'm not sure if I should say who, but yeah, one of
No,
the
no,
guys from
no, no.
the UFC
That's
put.
I was just curious on in a general sense.
And then it was kind of at the same time. I don't know if they both knew about it or not, but
Mhm.
John from Happy Dad messaged me. He's like, "Hey man, we love what you're doing. Like, I'd love to have a chat with you." I was like, "Oh fucking way, this is sick." And then like the next day, one of the guys from the UFC was like, "Hey man, I want to put you in touch with Kyle. Like, we want to see if there's some stuff you guys can do together." So
Nice.
yeah, man, those guys are absolute beauties. I love those guys. They're having a great day today, man. They're
Savages.
they're
Yeah,
on
yeah,
they're
yeah.
on
Big
top of the
big
world
win
right
today,
now,
hey?
man. Big win for the boys. Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're stoked, man. I love it.
You know,
I'm
it's totally it's domination. The UFC is domination. Even and not like to get into the political side, but like just the move of Trump coming in, Rogan having him on the pocket. Like you could kind of see which way it was going, and it was all beautiful. I loved every moment of it.
oh
Even as a
yeah.
Canadian, you can breathe better up here.
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely, dude. 100%. I mean, I'm American too, man. So yeah, I was stoked to see that.
Fuck yeah, man. So I mean, obviously you came off the win, relax for a bit and see what's next, or do you have an exact plan or an opponent you want? You obviously want to crack that top 15, that top 10. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm in no rush to get back into the fight. I mean, obviously it's funny, dude. You get like those feelings fight day where you're like, holy shit, like I can't believe I'm gonna do this. I can't see myself wanting to do this again after this fight. And then I'm on the flight back from the win, watching like I had downloaded some of the fight and I was rewatching some of the stuff and doing it slow motion. I'm like, dude, I can't wait to get in there again. I'm like laughing with my coach. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
like 18 hours ago, I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I want to do this again. And you win and you're like, let's go, get me back in there. Like as soon as the fight's over, I'm like, oh, I need to get back in there, like win or loss. The last fight, I was like, man, I lost. Like, I got to get back in there as soon as possible and correct this stuff and get back on the winning track. And obviously, I had to take some time to like make some improvements and make some adjustments and feel like way more comfortable being in a fight now. Like this fight on the weekend wasn't, I don't think it was the most impressive fight I've ever had or most exciting fight I've ever had. And it doesn't give that like instant gratification of like guillotining a guy or knocking a guy out. And I don't get the like massive release of getting a win. But as far as the longevity of my career is concerned and growth over time, I'm actually extremely happy with how the fight went
hmm
and how I performed and how I like my decision making in the fight. It's not as fun. It's not as gratifying. I want those big finishes again, but I think like had he taken like a bad shot and I guillotined him right away, or I cracked him with like the first head kick I tried and he was out, that would have been less helpful than going the 15 minutes and just making the like disciplined decision to be like, look, this is the most exciting fight, and I'm not beating this dude's ass, but I'm winning, and it's up to him to take risks right now, not up to me.
Mhm.
So if he decides not to, then I'll just keep picking at him and I'll win by decision, which isn't necessarily the most fun way to fight. But for a fight like that, where I'm like, I need to get back on the winning track and I need to just get more cage time and build some more, punch the clock in the UFC and get used to having my feet on that floor. Like I think it was really beneficial to the long term development of my game.
That's perfect, honestly, in the sense of yeah, just literal ground time, ground minutes right on
Mm.
there.
Yeah,
But then you get a highlight like the head kick, that slow motion head kick there.
that was a cool one.
That yeah, is very
Mm.
cool. 100%. That's one of the nicest. Pardon me.
Bless you, buddy.
Thank you. That was one of the nicest ones of the year, honestly. That slow motion.
Thanks, man. Just barely caught him toes to the face.
Yeah,
Dude, I got to do something.
no
Got to
man,
put it on this guy a little bit.
that was
I mean,
sweet.
best case scenario would have been the exact same performance, but I finish him with like 20 seconds left, so I still get that full time. But I was happy with it, man. Like, not I'm happy with like what it'll lead to. I feel a lot more
Mhm.
comfortable. Like, I was not tired in there at all. That could have very easily been a 5 round fight. I felt like I was able to stay disciplined the whole time. I think I took a couple risks. Almost anything you do in a fight's a risk, but I took some risks at times, but they were like calculated when things were in my favor or I really felt like I timed something well. So I was really happy with how the experience went.
Nice, man. No, that's good. That's good. And it was honestly fun to watch, man. It was great to see everyone get the win. Most of everyone get the win there. It was
Mhm.
obviously sad to see Barrio go out like that. You could watch it in real time, see what was happening, and fuck, man. Like I messaged him and he gave me the thumbs up. It was just like he said, kill or be killed. He goes out,
Yeah.
kill or be killed, man. So
He's a warrior, man. He gets right after it. Like he's not afraid to get right in a chaotic fist fight, man. He's not, picking guys apart and playing it safe. He's in there like he said, kill or be killed. And he said that to me in the hotel afterwards. But I'm like, yeah, but man, that's why they love you, man. That's why you keep getting main card slots. Like coming off 2 losses, still on the main card. Like you're a friggin' warrior, man. Like guys love watching you fight. So,
yeah.
keep your head high. He's a good dude, man. It's cool doing these Canadian fight cards because like you end up seeing these guys again and again that you may not have met before or have like a relationship with, but you develop a relationship with them because we're all Canadian. Like so
Hmm.
now like seeing Eamon at fights, seeing Jordan at fights, seeing Barrio at fights, it's cool, man. Like every time, especially when we're doing it together again and again, it's like see
Yeah.
him in the lobby, like here we go again, boys. Like I've
Yeah.
never trained with you guys. I don't know you personally, but like we're boys now because of this, and we're in it together, and we have that Canadian tie and bond. And then we were all in the same locker room on Saturday, and yeah, it was a really great time and great experience getting to just go through that with all those guys. So
The
much better when almost everybody gets a win too, man. Holy shit, way
Oh
better.
God, yeah, yeah. Like that Vancouver card, I was buzzing. I was losing it, man. And
Hmm.
that was also a boost on just kind of the work that I try to do anyway, in the sense of just pushing the sport and even
Hmm.
like getting the guys on the up and coming promotions, just give them that, it doesn't have to be me talking, just give them that platform for them to tell the story.
Yeah.
And, it's been sweet to be a part of it. Because I fuck man, I watched like your interview with Ariel Hawani there. And
Yeah.
now to be doing it now, it's an honor, man. So it's the coolest sport. It was the most Edmonton thing, those face-offs that we saw the picture of in front of the bridge. That was the most Edmonton thing I've seen in
Oh yeah. Dude, why did they do that to those guys? That was cold as hell out
so
there. They
bad.
got they got like a flannel on and like in like thin jeans. I'm like, dude, get these guys inside. You're not getting anything more out of getting these guys in front of the bridge, dude. That was brutal. I felt so bad for those guys.
They could have done it in an A&W and it would have done better.
100%, man. Yeah, you could have done that at the hotel. Like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Feel bad for those guys. That would have sucked, man.
Yeah, I have Charles coming on a little bit later on in the week, Charles Jordan. So I'm
Okay.
excited to speak with him and no, just keep the train rolling of,
Yeah, man.
even like you said, representing Canada in the sense of because the slot for a star is wide open. right? So,
Yeah.
everything is forming for, you got you guys to fill that gap, even as a group as well, because it's happening. So,
I think that's the way it's kind of going to be right now, which I'm looking forward to. Like, dude, Jazz is killing it right now. Like, her last few performances have been unbelievable, where she's just broken these girls.
mhm.
It's so sick to watch. And Jourdain finally at bantamweight, I think is great for him, especially like making that weight for the first time and getting a big win. I think it'll only get easier for him, or he'll at least get more comfortable with it. Amon's on a 5-fight win streak, massive win. Like that was a huge step up in competition for him.
Yeah.
Pedro Munoz is one of the best bantamweights in the last 15 years, man. He's incredible. So massive win for him.
Fought the who's who as well at that weight as well, 100%.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I've cornered against him, man. We had a
Yeah.
bad night against him. He's a killer, man. You can't put that guy away. He's never been finished. He's elite on the ground and never really even uses it.
Mhm.
Bangs it out on the feet, has dangerous calf kicks. He's really good everywhere. And then yeah, and then for Siri to get back on the winning track, like kind of got robbed in that first fight, in my opinion, and had just kind of the worst case scenario for a performance where it's the second most exciting fight of the night and you lost a controversial split decision. So
Yeah.
it's like
That hurt.
you didn't like not only did you not get your win bonus, but you're like, okay, well, at least it was an absolute barn burner of a war. Maybe I'll get the fight of the night. It's like, no, it was the second most exciting fight of the night. So you don't get fight of the night and you got robbed. So it's like you should have probably gotten 3 checks on any other night. You win the fight and get the fight of the night. So you get 3 checks on any other night. But tonight you get one. So
Yeah.
like just
The
worst
stock
case
still went
scenario.
up. Stock still went up with that fight though,
Yeah,
100%.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he should be getting a good following after these last 2 fights because
Oh
those are
God,
some
yeah.
pretty sick fights. So yeah, man, I think right now it's more just like it's solid to see a good handful of us have really good performances, all with tough opponents too. Like,
Jillian Robertson just cracked top 15, like
yeah,
it's
that's
good,
awesome.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we got a good group right now. It's nice to have that, especially after getting a couple of questions through fight week of like, man, what do you think of Canadian, the landscape of Canadian MMA right now? It's pretty weak right now, and everyone talking about just how shitty the Canadian UFC fighters are. I'm
Oh,
like,
dude.
like we like a year ago it was we're fucking the best because we're 6-0 in one night and like we're on a
Yeah.
run, and then you get one bad night in Toronto and a couple guys on Contender Series who were like who either had tough matchups or maybe got there a little earlier than they should. And
Hmm.
it's like, all right, like, dude, it's fighting, man.
It's
It's a
and
couple
it's
fights.
and it's fighting. It's not like you guys are fighting fucking like this is the best of the best, right? That's what
Yeah,
they gotta understand, and that's the saddest part of the casual fan, you could say.
yeah,
Even Mo Ado, hit big prospect from Unified there,
yeah.
and then the tough loss at Contender Series there real fast, and it hurts, and then even Peter
Dude, he's
he was just competing at Fury Grappling there.
oh, did he?
Yeah, he competed and it was on the Air Force Base. It was pretty sweet, but it
How
was
do you do?
dude, it was a great first round, and then fuck, he was fighting Joe Selecki, and it was
Oh, Joe
quick,
Selecki's
quick
yeah, Joe Selecki.
reverse and a very quick finish out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
Joe Selecki's really, really good grappler. There's no
Yeah,
shame in that. But yeah, Moedo's good. He's got a lot of talent. He's just only been training for a few years. Like I
he was
remember his
four
first
five and 0, something like that.
he was 5-0. Yeah, he's 5-1 now.
Yeah.
But I commentated his debut. I was already in the UFC when he made his MMA debut, and he hadn't
Mhm.
been training that long. I don't
Yeah,
think he had any
exactly.
amateur MMA fights. I think he had some amateur Thai fights, but no amateur MMA. He's like, I think he got there too soon. That
Mhm.
honestly, I think him losing on Contender Series is the best thing that could have happened because I think if he had gotten in right now, it would be too early for him, and it would be a tough road right now. I think you give him an extra year, maybe two at the rate he's improving, he's going to be solid soon. He'll get right back in there, man.
Oh yeah.
Maybe next season, maybe 2 seasons from now, just go win 3, 4, 5 more fights. Get like I said about me in the UFC, like get that time, get
Yeah,
your feet
dude.
on the ground in a cage, and just get used to
ECC
that.
to UFC, man. Yeah, you came a long
Yeah,
way from there, dude. Fucking
yeah, man. Yeah, dude. It's been a while, man.
yeah.
I went pro in 2011, right? So long time, but he's a super
Fucking
talented kid. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, right back to it is just those one bad night, and that kind of paints everything. But then
Yeah.
but it's so easy to switch everyone's mind back with one given night, just like Teddy
Yeah.
Atlas says. So
Yeah, man.
cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Mike. I really do, and be looking forward to watching the rest of your career prosper and seeing you get that title one day, man.
Thank you.
Seeing you, it says like Tapology, you're like 30 something, 170 on the planet, obviously in the UFC, right around that top 15 mark, if, like
Mm.
for feeling best in the world. So at 170, man, representing Canada is massive. Appreciate that.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. We'll chat soon.
Chat soon, buddy. Bye.
Thanks, man.